The story opens in 1995 Berlin, introducing us to Michael Berg, a successful but emotionally reserved lawyer. His quiet, orderly life is a fortress built to contain a past that still defines him. A brief, detached encounter with a younger woman highlights his inability to form a lasting connection, a theme that echoes throughout his story. From this present-day melancholy, we are thrown back to 1958, where a 15-year-old Michael, visibly ill with what turns out to be scarlet fever, stumbles off a tram and vomits in a building's archway. He is discovered by Hannah Schmitz, a stern but helpful tram conductress in her mid-30s. She cleans him up and helps him get home, an act of kindness that leaves a profound impression on the young boy. After a grueling 3-month recovery from his illness, Michael's first thought is to find the woman who helped him. He buys a bouquet of flowers and tracks her down to her drab, sparse apartment. He finds her ironing, a picture of quiet domesticity. The air is thick with an unspoken tension as Michael, shy and grateful, tries to thank her. She is distant but not unkind. The visit takes a turn when she asks him to wait while she changes. Through a slightly open door, Michael watches, transfixed as she pulls on her stockings. When she catches him looking, he panics and flees in a storm of shame and adolescent confusion. But the image of her is seared into his mind, and he finds himself drawn back to her apartment. This time, she puts him to work, sending him to the cellar to fetch coal. He returns covered in soot, and she laughs, a rare moment of unguarded warmth. She insists he take a bath to clean up. As he bathes, she moves around him, her presence both comforting and electrifying. In a moment of breathtaking intimacy, she joins him, naked, and they make love for the first time. This encounter sparks a passionate and secret affair that consumes Michael's summer. A unique ritual forms between them. Before they are lovers, Michael must first read aloud to her. He brings his school books, Homer's Odyssey, Chekhov's The Lady with the Little Dog, Schiller's Intrigue and Love, and reads for hours, his voice filling the silence of her small apartment. For Michael, it's a thrilling education in both literature and love. For Hannah, the readings are a non-negotiable part of their intimacy, a demand that seems peculiar but that he happily indulges. Their relationship exists in a bubble, disconnected from the rest of Michael's life, where he is a good student and friend. But the secret weighs on him, creating a distance between him and his peers. The affair is not without its turmoil. Hannah is prone to sudden fits of anger and withdrawal. After one fight, she disappears without a trace. Michael is left heartbroken, the abrupt end of his first love, leaving a wound that never truly heals. Years later, in 1966, Michael is a promising law student at Heidelberg. He joins a special seminar focused on the Nazi war crime trials, a generation's attempt to reckon with their parents' past. The seminar group travels to observe the trial of 6 former female SS guards accused of horrific crimes. As the defendants are brought in, Michael sits, half paying attention, until a familiar name is called, Hannah Schmitz. He looks up in disbelief. The woman from his past, the woman he loved, is sitting in the dock. She is older, more severe, but it is undeniably her. He is paralyzed, the two halves of his life colliding in a devastating shock. The trial unearths a horrifying past. The women are accused of being guards at a satellite concentration camp near Krakow. The central charge is that during a forced march in the winter of 1944, they locked 300 Jewish women inside a church, and when the church was bombed and caught fire, they did nothing, allowing every single prisoner to burn to death. Michael listens, sickened, as survivor testimony details the guards' cruelty. One survivor, Ilana Mather, who was a child in the camp, describes Hannah's peculiar behavior. Hannah would select young, weak girls, have them read to her in the evenings, and then, inexplicably, send them on the transports to Auschwitz and their deaths. Hannah's conduct in the courtroom is baffling. She is direct and unapologetic, admitting her role in the monthly selections for Auschwitz. When the judge asks her about the church fire, why they didn't unlock the doors, she answers with a chillingly practical logic. They were guards, and their duty was to prevent the prisoners from escaping. She asks the judge, "Well, what would you have done?" The other defendants, seeing an opportunity, collude against her. They testify that Hannah was the one in charge. the one who gave the orders, and, crucially, the one who wrote the official SS report about the incident, covering up their actions. The judge, seeking to verify this, declares that they will need a sample of Hannah's handwriting to compare with the report. As a clerk approaches Hannah with a pen and paper, a terrible realization dawns on Michael. He flashes back to their time together, Hannah never reading the menu on their bicycle trip, always having him read to her, pushing a book away. He understands with sickening clarity Hannah is illiterate. Her entire life has been a desperate attempt to hide her shame. She left her job as a tram conductress when she was offered a promotion to a desk job that would require writing. She took the job with the S because it didn't. And now, in court, she is willing to accept a life sentence for a crime she didn't lead rather than expose her deepest secret. Faced with the pen and paper, Hannah hesitates for a moment before falsely confessing, "I wrote the report." Michael is torn. He holds the one piece of information that could change her sentence, but to reveal it would be to betray her, to expose the one secret she would rather go to prison for life to protect. He says nothing. Hannah is found guilty and sentenced to life imprisonment, while the other guards receive sentences of only a few years. The years that follow are haunted by his silence. Michael becomes a lawyer, gets married, has a daughter named Julia, and gets divorced. He remains emotionally crippled, unable to connect with anyone, the ghost of Hannah and his own inaction always present. One day, he buys a tape recorder and begins to read a book into it, Homer's Odyssey. He sends the tape to Hannah in prison. This becomes a new ritual. For years, he records dozens of books on cassette tapes and mails them to her, never including a note, never visiting. He is a disembodied voice from her past. In prison, Hannah receives the tapes. Using the recordings and the corresponding books from the prison library, she painstakingly teaches herself how to read and write. After years of effort, she begins to write back to Michael, short, simple, almost childlike letters. He reads them but never replies. In 1988, after Hannah has served 20 years, a prison official contacts Michael. Hannah is eligible for parole, and as her only contact with the outside world, they need his help to prepare for her release. Reluctantly, he agrees. He arranges an apartment and a job for her, and a week before her release, he visits her in prison. The reunion is painfully awkward. Hannah is an old woman, worn down by time. Michael is stiff and formal. The connection they once had is gone, replaced by decades of guilt and silence. She tells him that her feelings about the past don't matter because the dead are still dead. Then she looks at him and says, "I have learnt, kid, I've learnt to read." The words devastate Michael. On the morning of her release, he arrives at the prison with flowers, only to be told that Hannah has hanged herself in her cell. She leaves behind a tea tin with her life savings and a will, instructing Michael to give the money to Ilana Maver, the camp survivor. Michael travels to New York to find Ilana, now an elegant older woman living in a beautiful apartment. He finally tells someone his story, confessing his affair with Hannah and explaining her illiteracy. Ilana listens but offers no absolution. She refuses the money, saying it cannot undo the past, but suggests he donate it to an organization fighting illiteracy. She asks to keep the old tea tin, as it reminds her of one she had as a child that was stolen in the camp. The story concludes back in 1995. Michael takes his daughter Julia to a small, quiet cemetery. He shows her a simple headstone that reads, "Hannah Schmitz." As Julia looks at him, waiting for an explanation, Michael finally breaks his long silence. He begins to tell her his story, starting from the very beginning. "I was 15, I was coming home from school, I was ill." In sharing his past, he takes the first step toward freeing himself from it. Thanks for tuning in. Stay curious, stay awesome, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more amazing content.